Alright, so I've seen this thing making the rounds recently, and it strikes me as just being absurd for a number of reasons. One reason being very obvious. It's a claim that just capitalism has killed 1.6 billion people. Now, first of all, right off the bat, everything listed here, and I mean everything, was done by either government or it was nature, not capitalism. World War I and II, I guess, were because of capitalism. Anyone on the entire planet that has ever starved or ever died from a disease, that's the fault of capitalism. Government-led imperialism is because of capitalism. That's news to me. This is insane, as those are direct results of government or just nature. You'll have to notice that given this list and the way socialists speak about capitalism, they torture the definition to the point of utter incoherence, so absolutely anything and everything that ever goes wrong can be laid at the feet of capitalism. Meanwhile, there is an actual definition of capitalism which they simply just ignore, or they pretend it doesn't exist, or that it doesn't mean anything. And that definition, of course, is that capitalism is an economic system in which trade, industry, buying, selling, production, and economic activity are engaged in by private owners, private individuals, private buyers, and private sellers, rather than by the state. That's a really important part. Rather than by the state, meaning the further removed you are from the state, the more capitalistic you become. And everything listed on this supposed death toll due to capitalism are all examples of the state flexing its malevolent muscles. The state flexing its malevolent muscles. The other aspect of capitalism, of course, is that it's voluntary trade. You get to decide who to deal with. If you don't want to deal with anyone, find some like-minded people and begin a self-sufficient commune. You want to protest or boycott a business? By all means. Hell, I might even join you depending on what it is. Nothing wrong with that, but it's voluntary. Is there anything voluntary about the state? Where do they get the resources to flex those malevolent muscles I mentioned before? They get it through the extraction of wealth and resources via taxation, which is not voluntary. You have a gun to your head and you must comply lest you be imprisoned or perhaps something worse. This has absolutely nothing to do with capitalism, nothing to do with private entities, as government is a public, collectivized entity. These are two completely different worlds. Now, here's the way you can tell that even Bernie Sanders supporting socialists know that this is nonsense. And I'm actually not really talking about true far-left textbook Marxists. They actually kind of get off the hook here, as they are no fans of Bernie Sanders, and they oddly say they hate government. I mean, despite the fact that they advocate for a dictatorship of the proletariat with astronomical amounts of power to change and warp the entire political, social, and economic landscape, and they magically think the state will wither away, which is just insanity. But besides that, I will let them off the hook. To the average self-described socialist that supports Bernie Sanders or the Green Party, what is a criticism they often make of the U.S.? What term do they use? They say, look at all the things going wrong. This is the fault of unfettered capitalism. Okay, unfettered capitalism is what they detest. Alright, first of all, the U.S. is by no means capitalistic in an unfettered sense. The best you can say about the U.S. at this point is that we have a few industries that, comparatively speaking, are more private than others. And oddly enough, they tend to do far better, offer better services, have better prices, etc. But the point here is that these socialists claim that the U.S. is in line with unfettered capitalism. And what is their proposed solution to this problem of so-called unfettered capitalism? Well, their solution is to have massive government takeovers of industry, massive amounts more in taxation, more regulation, more public sector unions, more public sector power, right? That's their solution, more government, because even they recognize that more government involvement equals less of a capitalistic society. You can hear it in everything they say. Right? Look at what capitalism has done. Government needs to get involved. We need a new law. Government needs to regulate. Government needs to tax more, etc. So when it comes to diminishing capitalism, they fully recognize that more government means less capitalism. But when it comes to blaming deaths on capitalism, they commit to unbelievable mental and definitional acrobatics to try and make it seem that when governments do something, it's capitalism's fault. It should be painfully apparent that this is abject hypocrisy, nothing more. But that is all for now. Please like, subscribe, and share this video, and take it easy.